I'd like to take a look at the evidence from 4 elections in Kaohsiung from 2018 to 2020. So on November 24th, 2018, we had the Kaohsiung City Mayor election. The statistical evidence shows partial ballot stuffing. This is because there was a significant difference between the number of ballots cast for mayor and for the city councilors. The amount was not significant, however there was a significant difference in Kaohsiung, which suggests ballot stuffing for city mayor. As far as video evidence, in 2018 we see mostly normal ballot counting. Therefore, we can conclude that the 2018 Kaohsiung City Mayor election was mostly legitimate. For the January 11th, 2020 presidential election, for statistical evidence, we have overwhelming evidence of stuffing for Taiwan and ballot theft against Han Kuo-yu. For video evidence, we have strong nationwide evidence of ballot theft and stuffing. The next election is the June 6th Han Kuo-yu recall. For statistical evidence, we have strong evidence of ballot stuffing. For video evidence, we have strong evidence of bags illegally brought into voting stations. The last election is the August 15th re-election for Kaohsiung City Mayor. For statistical evidence, we have no obvious evidence of election fraud. For video evidence, we have illegal ballot counting by election staff and some suspicious behavior. A star next to the January 11th, 2020 election and June 6th recall indicates strong statistical evidence and or video evidence of election fraud. Okay, so here's the same table in Chinese. We'll just let this sit here for a while. So let's do a simple exercise where we compare the DPP support rate in Kaohsiung on November 24th, 2018, January 11th, 2020, and the August 15, 2020 election. So the main question is, which figure doesn't fit? So on November 24th, 2018, we see DPP candidate Chen Chi-mai with 742,239 ballots. Then for the presidential election on January 11th, 2020, Taiwan officially gets 1.097 million ballots. Then on August 15th in the by-election, after the recall of Han Kuo-yu, Chen Chi-mai gets 671,804 ballots, which is less than what he got 2 years earlier and far less than what Taiwan got 7 months earlier. The results on August 15th aren't just a red flag to what occurred on June 6th, but they're also an even bigger red flag to what was declared for Taiwan on January 11th, because it's far less than what the DPP officially got 7 months earlier. The fact that the results on November 24th, 2018 and August 15th, 2020 are fairly similar to each other suggests that the DPP support rate in Kaohsiung is actually around those figures and not what was officially declared for Taiwan on January 11th. On January 11th, we can already see that there's probably a massive amount of ballot stuffing on behalf of Taiwan. This would also have to be corresponded with massive ballot theft against Han Kuo-yu in order to keep the turnout rate from going way above what would be reasonable. In 2018, Chen Chi-mai got 7,992 ballots. On January 11th, Taiwan got 10,425, and then Chen Chi-mai in the by-election got 7,113. So this fits the trend of Taiwan having an unbelievable amount of ballots on January 11th. In Gulsan Chu, we see Chen Chi-mai getting 33,547 ballots at first. Then Taiwan gets an unbelievable 51,023 ballots, and then it goes down to 31,799 ballots on August 15th. In Zuoyin Chu, we see Chen Chi-mai with 40,526 ballots at first. Then it goes all the way up to 66,665 ballots for Taiwan, and then it goes back down to 39,352 in the by-election on August 15th. In Nanzi Chu, we see Chen Chi-mai with 44,288 ballots at first, then it goes all the way up to 70,664 ballots on January 11th for Taiwan, and then it goes back down to 42,700 ballots in the by-election on August 15th. In Sanmin Chu, we see Chen Chi-mai with 91,617 ballots at first, then it goes all the way up to 138,048 ballots on January 11th for Taiwan, and then it goes back down to 85,121 ballots on August 15th in the by-election. In Xinqing-Chu, Chen Chi-mai got 14,237 ballots at first. Then it went all the way up to 19,999 ballots on January 11th for Taiwan, and then it went back down to 12,833 on August 15th in the by-election. For Tianjin-Chu, we have Chen Chi-mai with 7,608 ballots. Then for Taiwan, 10,743. And then it goes back down to 6,954 ballots in the by-election. In Linya-Chu, Chen Chi-mai got 46,041 ballots. Then Taiwan got 65,804 ballots, and then it went all the way down to 41,222 ballots in the by-election. The next district is Qianzhen-Chu. Chen Chi-mai got 52,376 ballots. Then it went all the way up to 76,988 ballots for Taiwan, and then it went back down to 48,346 ballots in the by-election. The next district is Qijing-Chu, where Chen Chi-mai got 9,360 ballots. Then Taiwan got 12,645 ballots, and then it went all the way back down to 7,642 ballots on August 15th in the by-election. In Shaogan-Chu, Chen Chi-mai got 9,360 ballots. Then Taiwan got 12,645 ballots, and then the support rate went down to 7,642 ballots on the by-election. For Fengshan-Chu, Chen Chi-mai got 88,437 ballots. Then Taiwan got 138,172 ballots. Then the support rate went all the way down to 82,698 ballots in the by-election. For Linyan-Chu, Chen Chi-mai got 21,847 ballots. Then Taiwan got 29,882 ballots. And then the support rate went down to 18,143 ballots on August 15th. For Daliao-Chu, Chen Chi-mai got 31,773 ballots. Then Taiwan got 46,652 ballots, and then went all the way down to 28,357 ballots in the by-election. For Dasu-Chu, Chen Chi-mai got 13,493 ballots. Then Taiwan got 27,507 ballots. Then the support rate goes down to 11,738 ballots on August 15th. For Da-Se-Chu, Chen Chi-mai got 10,512 ballots. Taiwan got 15,450 ballots, and then the support rate went down to 9,702 ballots for the by-election. For Renwu-Chu, Chen Chi-mai got 24,543 ballots. Taiwan got 37,214 ballots, and then the support rate dropped to 23,305 ballots for the by-election. For Niaozong-Chu, Chen Chi-mai got 12,806 ballots. Then Taiwan got 19,147 ballots, and then the support rate went down to 12,005 ballots on August 15th. For Ganshan-Chu, Chen Chi-mai got 25,829 ballots. Then Taiwan got 37,574 ballots. Then the support rate dropped to 22,854 ballots on August 15th. For Chaotou-Chu, Chen Chi-mai got 13,256 ballots. Taiwan got 18,077. Then the support rate dropped to 12,372 on August 15th. For Yanchao-Chu, Chen Chi-mai got 8,871 ballots. Taiwan got 12,586. Then the support rate dropped to 7,834 ballots on August 15th. For Tianliao-Chu, Chen Chi-mai got 2,768 ballots. Taiwan 3,281 ballots. Then the support rate dropped to 1,961 on August 15th. For Alian-Chu, Chen Chi-mai got 8,958 ballots. Taiwan got 12,558. Then the support rate dropped to 7,611 on August 15th. For Luzu-Chu, Chen Chi-mai got 14,407 ballots. Taiwan 21,274 ballots. And then the support rate dropped to 12,465 on August 15th. For Hubei-Chu, Chen Chi-mai got 8,903 ballots, Taiwan 12,787 ballots, and then the support rate dropped to 7,409 ballots on August 15th. For Jiading-Chu, Chen Chi-mai got 9,209 ballots, Taiwan 12,991, then the support rate dropped to 7,419 on August 15th. For Yong'an-Chu, Chen Chi-mai got 4,478 ballots. Taiwan 5,944. Then the support rate dropped to 3,420 on August 15th. For Mituo Chu, Chenchima got 5,871 ballots, Taiwan 7,862 ballots. Then the support rate dropped to 4,655 ballots on August 15th. For Ziguan Chu, Chenchima got 11,646 ballots, Taiwan 16,291. Then the support rate dropped to 10,444 on August 15th. For Qisan Chu, Chenchima got 10,940 ballots, Taiwan got 14,285. Then the support rate dropped to 8,798 on August 15th. For Meinong Chu, Chenchima got 9,546 ballots, Taiwan 13,007 ballots. Then the support rate dropped to 7,895 ballots on August 15th. For Liugui Chu, Chenchima got 3,315 ballots, Taiwan 4,117. Then the support rate went to 2,319 ballots on August 15th. For Jiaxian Chu, Chenchima got 1,483 ballots. Then Taiwan got 1,755 ballots. Then the support rate dropped to 1,077 ballots on August 15th. For Sanling Chu, Chenchima got 3,076 ballots. Taiwan 3,719 ballots. And then the support rate dropped to 2,219 ballots on August 15th. For Neimen Chu, Chenchima got 4,510 ballots, Taiwan 5,378, and then on August 15th, the support rate dropped to 3,077. For Monglin Chu, Chenchima got 107 ballots, Taiwan 267, then the support rate went back down to 104 ballots on August 15th. For Taoyuan Chu, Chenchima got 304 ballots, Taiwan got 545, then the support rate dropped to 245 on August 15th. For Nama Sha Chu, Chenchima got 295 ballots, Taiwan 430, then the support rate dropped to 238 on August 15th. So we can see here that there's very obvious ballot stuffing for DPP candidate Tsai Ing-wen on January 11th, 2020. Such a large increase in DPP support from November 24th, 2018 to January 11th, 2020, accompanied by a sharp decrease in support lower than DPP support in 2018 suggests widespread stuffing on January 11th. A large increase in support for the DPP would need to be accompanied by a similar decrease in support for the KMT to be reasonable. From looking at these 38 districts in Kaohsiung, we can infer that DPP support actually decreased from November 24th, 2018 to January 11th, 2020 because it follows an overall trend in decreasing support in Kaohsiung that carried through over to August 15th, 2020. It is reasonable to assume that Taiwan's support on January 11th is no higher than the support rate for Chen Chi-mai on November 24th, 2018. It is definitely lower than that. So in Kaohsiung, on November 24th, 2018, Chen Chi-mai got 742,239 ballots. Then the DPP increased its support in Kaohsiung by 355,382 ballots officially, giving Taiwan 1,097,621 ballots on January 11th. That's an increase of 47.87%. So for Hangori, on November 24th, 2018, he received 892,545 ballots. Then he allegedly lost 281,649 ballots to give him a total of 610,896 ballots on January 11th, 2020. That's a decrease of 31.55%, which is far less than the 47.87% increase we see for the DPP candidates between 2018 and 2020. This could be interpreted in more than one way. If you believe that there is no election fraud, this would mean that the additional support for the DPP came from new voters, young voters. That's why the percentage is so much higher for the DPP than the decrease in the percentage for the KMT. If you believe that is election fraud, then the interpretation is that the DPP simply stuffed too many ballots for themselves in Kaohsiung. That's why it's 47% and KMT decrease is only 31%. So You could also say that not enough ballots were stolen from Hungary in order to make the increase reasonable. For independent candidates, on November 24, 2018, there were 22,123 ballots. Then we saw an increase in the independent ballots of 33,186 to give James Song 55,309 ballots. This is an increase of 150%, but this is not a significant amount, so we're not going to consider the independent ballots in 2018 or 2020 in this study. So the overall conclusion here, just from looking at Kaohsiung on a city level, is that the increase of the DPP ballots compared to the decrease in KMT ballots is not reasonable. They are not anywhere close to each other. This suggests election fraud. So on November 24, 2018, the total number of valid ballots was 1,656,907 for a turnout rate of 72.63%. The number of valid ballots on January 11, 2020 was 1,780,832 ballots for a turnout rate of 77.44%. Now the thing to note is that the turnout rate increased by nearly 5% in Kaohsiung. However, you will see in this study that not all districts actually increased their turnout rate. This is very strange because there should be a uniform increase in turnout rate. There should be no difference between districts with high population and low population, yet there was. So to summarize what I just said, if DPP support increased 47.87%, KMT support should have decreased by nearly that much. However, KMT support decreased by only 31.55%, which already suggests on a city level that too many ballots were stuffed for Tsai on January 11th and not enough ballots were stolen from Han. Change in independent ballots was not significant. So in Yanzhen-区, Tenchimai got 7,922, Hangori got 7,633. So this is what I would classify as a pan-green district because the DPP won in 2018. The increase in percentage of DPP support was 31.6%. Decrease for KMT was 30.96%. This is deemed very reasonable. The number of ballots officially received for Taiwan on January 11th were 10,425. However, on June 6th, only 9,107 ballots were cast to recall Han. We've already established that the recall had ballot stuffing, so therefore this 10,425 is very suspicious. The increase in turnout rate from 75.77% in 2018 to 77.35% on January 11, 2020 is reasonable. In Gulsan-区, Tenchimai got 33,547 and Hangori 45,816. This is what I would call a pan-blue district, where Hungary won by a significant margin. However, the increase of 52.09% on January 11th and the decrease of 27.38% is totally unreasonable. This gave Taiwan 51,023 ballots and Hungary 33,270. On the June 6th recall, 44,512 agreed ballots were cast to recall Han. This is also not that close to the 51,023 ballots that Taiwan officially received. The turnout rate increased from 72.72% to 77.58%. This is reasonable. However, this is what I would define as a totally not reasonable district because the percentage increase for the DPP and percentage decrease for the KMT are way too far off from each other, about 25%. In Zoyin-区, Tenchimai got 40,526 ballots and Hungary 68,255. This is what I would classify as a big win for Hungary in 2018 in a high population district. However, on January 11th, Taiwan's support rate allegedly increased 64.49% and Hungary decreased by only 25.68%. The difference between the increase in DPP support and decrease in KMT support was about 29%. This is totally not reasonable. Also on June 6th, the number of agreed ballots were 57,508, was also far less than the 66,665 ballots for Taiwan, and we also know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. The turnout rate increased from 71.65% in 2018 to 77.6% on January 11, 2020. This is a reasonable increase. In Nanzi区, Chen Chi-mai got 44,288 ballots, and Hangary 59,478 ballots. This is also what I would classify as a pan-blue district. However, on January 11th, the DPP increased its support rate by 59.55%, and the KMT decreased its support rate by only 29.57%. This is about 20% difference, which is totally not reasonable. On June 6, 61,389 agree ballots were cast against Han Kuo-yu. This is also quite a bit less than what Taiwan got, which is 70,664 ballots, and we know there was ballot stuffing on June 6. The turnout rate increased from 71.72% to 77.69%, which is a reasonable increase in turnout. In Sanmin-chu, Chen Chi-mai got 91,617 ballots, Hangary got 105,406. This is what I would call a pan-blue district. The increase on January 11th for the DPP was 50.68%, and the decrease for the KMT was only 30.18%. This is just over 20%, which is totally not reasonable. On June 6th, there were 120,311 agree ballots cast officially to recall Han. This is far less than the 138,048 ballots for Taiwan on January 11th, and we also know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. The turnout rate increased from 73.41% to 76.92%. This is reasonable. In Xinxin-chu, Chen Chi-mai got 14,237 ballots. Hungary got 16,776 ballots. This is what I would call a slight pan-blue district. However, the increase for the DPP on January 11th was 50.68%, and the KMT decreased by only 28.26%. This is a difference of over 22%, which is totally not reasonable. On June 6th, there were 17,452 ballots officially declared to recall Han Kuo-yu. However, there were 19,999 ballots for Taiwan on January 11th. We also know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. The turnout rate increased from 73.41% to 76.92%, which is reasonable. So for Qianjin-chu, we have 7,608 ballots for Chen Chi-mai and 9,120 for Han Kuo-yu. I would classify this as a pan-blue district. However, DPP support increased by 41.2% on January 11th, and KMT support decreased by 27.18%. This difference by about 14% is not reasonable. Also, on June 6, we have 9,437 agreed ballots. However, Taiwan has 10,743 ballots officially declared for her on January 11th, and we also know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6. The turnout rate went from 73.28% to 76.96%. This is reasonable. In Linya-chu, Chen Chi-mai got 46,041 ballots, and Hungary got 57,171 ballots. I will classify this as a pan-blue district. However, on January 11th, DPP support increased by 42.92%, and KMT support decreased by 28.85%. This is a difference of about 14%, which is not reasonable. Also, on June 6th, there were 57,069 agreed ballots officially declared to recall Han, which is less than the 65,804 ballots officially declared for Taiwan on January 11th. And we also know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. The turnout rate increased from 73.97% to 77.58%. This is reasonable. For Qianzhen-chu, Chen Chi-mai had 52,376 ballots. Hungary had 59,572. I'll classify this as a slightly pan-blue district. However, on January 11th, DPP support increased by 46.99%, and KMT support decreased by only 30.89%. On June 6th, there were 66,816 agreed ballots. However, Taiwan officially got 76,988 ballots on January 11th. And we also know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. The turnout rate increased from 73.06% to 77.98%, which is reasonable. For Qijing Chu, Tenjima got 9,360 ballots, Hungary got 7,993. This is what I would classify as a pan-green district. On January 11th, DPP support increased by 35.1%, KMT support decreased by 39.73%. This is not exactly unreasonable, but it also isn't that reasonable because KMT support decreased more than what DPP support increased by. This is contrary to the general trend that DPP support increased more than KMT support decreased on January 11th. On June 6th, there were 10,658 officially declared agree ballots. However, Taiwan officially got 12,645 ballots on January 11th. We also know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. The turnout rate increased from 74.05% to 75.31%. This is reasonable. In Xiaogang-Chu, Tenjima got 43,464 ballots, and Hungary 47,806. I would classify this as a slightly pan-blue district. However, DPP support rate increased by 49.1% on January 11th, and KMT support decreased by only 34.99%. That's about a 14% difference, which is not reasonable. Also, on June 6th, we have 55,361 agree ballots compared to 64,807 officially declared ballots for Taiwan on January 11th. And we also know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. The turnout rate increased from 72.93% to 76.95%, which is reasonable. For Fengshan-Chu, Tenjima got 88,437 ballots, Hungary got 118,466. I would classify this as a solid pan-blue district. However, on January 11th, DPP support increased by 56.24%, and KMT support decreased by only 30.42%, which is totally not reasonable. Also, on June 6th, there are 117,795 agree ballots officially declared to recall Han, but there's 138,172 ballots officially declared for Taiwan on January 11th, and we know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. The turnout rate increased from 72.84% to 78.25%, which is reasonable. For Lingyuan-Chu, Tenjima got 21,847 ballots, Hungary got 20,149. I'll classify this as a slightly pan-green district. On January 11th, DPP support increased by 36.78%, and KMT support decreased by 39.22%. This is slightly unreasonable because it goes against the trend that DPP support increased more than what KMT support decreased by. This suggests that there were too many ballots stolen from Hungary in this district. We can also see that there were 25,028 agree ballots on June 6. However, there were 29,882 officially declared ballots for Taiwan on January 11th. We also know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6. The turnout rate increased from 75.68% to 76.28%, which is reasonable. In Daliao-Chu, Tenjima got 31,773 ballots, and Hungary got 35,636. I would classify this as a slightly pan-blue district. However, on January 11th, DPP support increased by 46.83%, while KMT support decreased by only 35.46%. This is not reasonable. Also, on June 6th, there were 39,474 officially declared agree ballots to recall Han, but on January 11th, there were 46,652 officially declared ballots for Taiwan. We also know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. The turnout rate increased from 73.46% to 76.51%, which is reasonable. In Dasu-Chu, Tenjima got 13,439 ballots, while Hungary got 12,945. I'll classify this as a slightly pan-green district. On January 11th, DPP support increased 37.59%, while KMT support decreased by 36.52%. This is reasonable. Also, on June 6th, we have 15,318 agree ballots officially declared to recall Han. However, on January 11th, Taiwan officially got 18,565 ballots. We also know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. Turnout rate increased from 76.25% to 77.84%, which is reasonable. For 大社区, Chenchima got 10,512 ballots, Hungary 10,378. However, on January 11th, DPP support increased by 46.97% and KMT support decreased by only 36.97%. This is not reasonable. Also, on June 6, there were 13,320 agreed ballots officially declared to recall Han, but on January 11th, there were 15,450 ballots officially declared for Taiwan. We also know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6. The official turnout increased from 73.94% to 78.07%. This is reasonable. For Ren Wu区, Chenchima got 24,543 ballots, while Hungary got 26,659. I'll classify this as a slightly pan-blue district. However, on January 11th, DPP support increased by 51.63%, while KMT support decreased by 33.51%. This is not reasonable. Also, on June 6th, there were 32,787 officially declared agreed ballots to recall Han, but on January 11th, there were 37,214 officially declared ballots for Taiwan, and we also know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. The turnout increased from 73.53% to 77.83%, which is reasonable. In Kaohsiung区, Chenchima got 12,806 ballots, while Hungary got 14,410 ballots. I'll classify this as a slightly pan-blue district. However, on January 11th, DPP support increased by 49.52%, while KMT support decreased by only 29.91%. This is a difference of around 30%, which is totally not reasonable. Also, on June 6th, there were officially 16,662 agreed ballots to recall Han. However, on January 11th, there were 19,147 ballots for Taiwan. We also know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6. The turnout rate increased from 73.21% to 78.46%, which is reasonable. In Gansan区, Chenchima got 25,829 ballots, and Hungary 32,410. I would classify this as a solid pan-blue district. However, on January 11th, DPP support increased by 45.47%, and KMT support decreased by 31.33% only. This is not reasonable. Also, on June 6, there were 32,084 recall ballots. However, on January 11th, there were 37,574 officially declared ballots for Taiwan, and we know there was ballot stuffing on June 6. Official turnout increased from 76.17% to 79.14%, which is reasonable. In Chaotou区, Chenchima got 13,256 ballots, and Hungary 10,888. DPP support increased by 36.37%, and KMT support decreased by 36.51%. This is reasonable. On June 6, there were 16,254 agreed ballots, but on January 11th, there were 18,077 ballots officially declared for Taiwan, and we know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6. The turnout rate increased from 78.39% to 80.55%, which is reasonable. In Yanzhou区, Chenchima got 8,871 ballots, Hungary got 9,448. This district was slightly pan-blue. On January 11th, the DPP support rate increased by 41.88%, while KMT support decreased by 35.92%. This is fairly reasonable. On June 6th, there were 10,618 recall ballots. However, on January 11th, there were 12,586 ballots for Taiwan officially. Also, we know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. The turnout rate increased from 74.82% to 76.65%, which is reasonable. In Tianliao区, Chenchima got 2,768 ballots, and Hangzhou 2,252. However, on January 11th, DPP support rate increased by 18.53%, but KMT support decreased by 37.97%. This is totally not reasonable. Also, on June 6, there were 2,552 agreed ballots, but on January 11th, there were 3,281 ballots for Taiwan officially, and we know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6. The turnout rate decreased from 80.5% to 75.32%. This is one of the districts where the decrease in KMT support was much greater than the increase in DPP support, which means that there was too much ballot theft in this district compared to the amount of ballots that were stuffed for Taiwan. This is against the general trend of the election because we can see that in general DPP support increased more than KMT support decreased. However, this was not the case in this district. In Alian-Chu, Tenchimai got 8,958 ballots and Hungary got 8,322. On January 11th, DPP support increased by 40.19% and KMT support decreased by 39.31%. This is reasonable. On June 6th, there were 10,559 agreed ballots. However, on January 11th, there were 12,558 ballots officially declared for Taiwan, and we also know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6. The turnout rate increased from 76.14% to 76.98%. This is reasonable. In Luzhu-Chu, Tenchimai got 14,407 ballots and Hungary 16,545. On January 11th, DPP support increased by 47.66%, while KMT support decreased by 39.18%. This is not reasonable. On June 6th, there were 18,054 agreed ballots. However, on January 11th, Taiwan officially received 21,274 ballots. We also know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. The turnout increased from 75.7% to 77.71%. This is reasonable. In Hubei-Chu, Tenchimai got 8,903 ballots and Hungary 9,133. On January 11th, DPP support increased by 43.63%, while KMT support decreased by 39.2%. This is reasonable. On June 6th, there were 10,929 agreed ballots. However, on January 11th, there were 12,787 officially declared ballots for Taiwan, and we also know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. Turnout rate increased from 75.08% to 76.81%, which is reasonable. For Jiading-Chu, Tenchimai got 9,209 ballots. Hungary got 8,662. On January 11th, the support rate for the DPP increased by 41.07%, while KMT support decreased by 36.99%. This is reasonable. On June 6th, there were 10,600 agreed ballots officially declared. However, on January 11th, there were 12,991 officially declared ballots for Taiwan, and we know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. Official turnout increased from 72.69% to 75.34%, which is reasonable. In Yong'an-Chu, Tenchimai got 4,478 ballots, and Hungary got 4,545. However, on January 11th, DPP support increased by 32.74%, while KMT support decreased by 40.86%. This is not reasonable. On June 6, there were 4,914 agreed ballots officially declared. However, on January 11th, there were 5,944 ballots declared officially for Taiwan, and we know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6. The turnout rate also decreased from 79.92% to 77.07%. This is not reasonable. This is another district where there are too many ballots stolen for Hungary and not enough ballots stuffed for Taiwan. That's why the turnout rate decreased. In Miituo-Chu, Tenchimai got 5,871 ballots and Hungary 6,756. On January 11th, DPP support increased by 33.91%, while KMT support decreased by 38.56%. This is not reasonable. On June 6th, there were 6,173 agreed ballots officially declared to recall Han. However, on January 11th, there were 7,862 ballots officially declared for Taiwan, and we know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. The official turnout went from 81.56% to 79.24%, which is not reasonable because the turnout rate should increase in most of the districts. In Ziguan-Chu, Chenchimai got 11,646 ballots, and Hangori 10,509. On January 11th, the DPP support rate increased by 39.88%, while the KMT support rate decreased by 38.42%. On June 6th, there were 14,032 agree ballots officially declared. However, on January 11th, there were 16,291 officially declared ballots for Tsai Ing-wen, and we know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. The turnout rate increased from 75.71% to 78.56%, which is reasonable. In Chisan-chu, Chenchimai got 10,940 ballots, and Hangori 12,379. On January 11th, DPP support increased by 30.58%, and KMT support decreased by 35.68%, which is not reasonable. On June 6th, there were 11,399 officially declared agree ballots. However, on January 11th, there were 14,285 officially declared ballots for Tsai Ing-wen, and we know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. The turnout rate also decreased from 77.14% to 74.97%, which is also not reasonable. This is another district where it is very obvious that too many ballots were stolen from Hangori and not enough ballots were stuffed for Tsai Ing-wen. In Meinong-chu, Chenchimai got 9,546 ballots, and Hangori got 15,478. On January 11th, the DPP saw an increase of 36.26%, while the KMT saw a decrease in 27.99%. This is not reasonable. On June 6th, there were 9,749 agree ballots. However, on January 11th, Taiwan officially received 13,007 ballots, and we know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. The turnout rate decreased from 74.8% to 73.03%. The turnout rate decreased from 74.8% to 73.03%, which is contrary to the turnout rate increasing in most districts. In Liugui-chu, Chenchimai got 3,315 ballots, Hangori got 4,084. On January 11th, DPP support increased by 24.19%, while KMT support decreased by 33.77%. This is definitely not reasonable. This is another lower population Pan-Blue district where the Central Election Commission appears to be afraid to stuff too many ballots for Taiwan and was mostly comfortable with stealing from Hangori. On June 6th, there were 2,880 agree ballots officially declared. However, on January 11th, Taiwan officially got 4,117 ballots, and we also know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. The turnout decreased from 68.39% to 64.46%, which is totally not reasonable. A decreasing turnout rate definitely goes against the general trend of the turnout rate increasing in most districts. In Jiaxian-chu, Chenchimai got 1,483 ballots, Hangori got 2,339. On January 11th, DPP support increased by 18.34%, while KMT support decreased by 27.4%. This is not reasonable. This is another low-populated Pan-Blue district where the Central Election Commission was afraid to stuff too many ballots but was comfortable to steal more ballots. On June 6th, there were 1,223 officially declared agree ballots. However, on January 11th, Taiwan officially got 1,755 ballots, and we know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6th. The turnout rate decreased from 74.97% to 68.54%, which is definitely not reasonable. In Sanling-chu, Chenchimai got 3,076 ballots, and Hangori got 4,129. On January 11th, DPP support increased by 20.9%, and KMT support decreased by 31.7%. This is another low-populated Pan-Blue district where the Central Election Commission was afraid to stuff too many ballots for Tsai Ing-wen and was more comfortable stealing. On June 6th, the number of agree ballots officially declared was 2,733. However, on January 11th, Taiwan got 3,719 officially declared ballots. However, we know that on June 6th that there was ballot stuffing. The turnout rate increased from 72.23% to 72.68%. This is reasonable. In Ningmen-chu, Chenchimai got 4,510 ballots, and Hangori got 5,446. On January 11th, DPP support increased by 19.25%, while KMT support decreased by 37.57%. The difference between these two is totally unreasonable. On June 6, the number of agree ballots were 3,863. However, Taiwan got 5,378 ballots, and we know that there was ballot stuffing on June 6. The turnout rate decreased from 81.53% to 72.68%. This is totally unreasonable. This is another lower populated district that the Central Election Commission was more comfortable stealing than it was stuffing, and that's why the turnout rate actually decreased by almost 10%. For Maolin Chu, Chenchimai got 107 ballots, Hungary got 1,281. However, on January 11th, DPP support increased by 149.53%, while KMT support decreased by 31.54%. This is obviously totally not reasonable. On June 6th, there were 60 declared agree ballots to recall Han. However, on January 11th, Taiwan got 267 ballots. This is one of the 3 districts where I believe that there was no ballot stuffing that took place on June 6th. The turnout rate decreased from 91.65% to 77.07%. This is obviously totally unreasonable given that the turnout rate increased between these 2 elections. This is a clear example of a low-populated pan-blue district where the Central Election Commission was afraid to stuff too many ballots but was willing to steal more ballots, which caused the overall turnout rate to decrease by over 10%. In Taoyuan Chu, Chenchimai got 304 ballots and Hungary got 2,519. On January 11th, the DPP increased its support rate by 79.28%, while the KMT decreased its support rate by 33.55%, which is totally not reasonable. On June 6th, there were 201 agree ballots officially declared. However, on January 11th, there were 545 officially declared ballots for Taiwan. This is one of the 3 districts that I believe had no ballot stuffing on June 6th. The turnout rate decreased from 85.84% to 68.98%. This is obviously totally unreasonable given that the turnout rate increased between these 2 elections. This is another clear example of a district with a low population where the Central Election Commission was mostly comfortable with stealing ballots and not adding too many. Nama Sha Chu had 295 ballots for Chenchimai and 1,751 for Hangoryu. On January 11th, the DPP support rate increased by 45.76%, while the KMT support rate decreased by 34.61%. This is definitely not reasonable. On June 6th, there were 209 agree ballots declared. However, Taiwan got 430 ballots on January 11th. This is one of the 3 districts where I believe that there was no ballot stuffing on June 6th. The turnout rate decreased from 89.39% to 69.03%. A decrease in 20% is definitely unreasonable, as the turnout rate increased between these 2 elections. This is another clear example of a pan-blue district with a low population where the Central Election Commission was afraid to stuff too many ballots, but was willing to steal a lot of ballots, causing the turnout rate to decrease by this amount. So here's a table of the districts that I deem reasonable, not reasonable, and totally not reasonable. 28 are on the not reasonable side and 10 are reasonable. So most districts in Kaohsiung show an unreasonable difference in increase and decrease for the DPP and KMT respectively. Keep in mind that the districts that are deemed reasonable still have election fraud in them. They still have ballot stuffing and ballot theft. It's just that the ratio that they were done with is more reasonable. So in the 10 reasonable districts, 8 out of 10 of these districts were won by the DPP on November 24, 2018. The other 2 were small victories for the KMT. Therefore, the increase in ballots for the DPP was more reasonable in terms of percentage compared to the decrease in percentage for the KMT. The Central Election Commission appeared to be more comfortable stuffing ballots for Taiwan and stealing ballots from Hungary in these districts because the Pan-Green Cab already had more of a lead in these districts to begin with. So therefore, the DPP support in 2018 was already higher to begin with, and the KMT support was already lower. So therefore, they didn't need to do as much in these districts. In short, they were less greedy in these districts. We can also see this trend in the city of Taoyuan. Due to the fact that the DPP performed better in this city in 2018, there is very little ballot theft against Hangoryu in this city. However, there is still a great deal of ballot stuffing on behalf of Taiwan. There were 16 districts that were deemed to be not reasonable. 15 out of 16 of these districts were won by the KMT on November 24, 2018. In these districts, the percentage increase for the DPP was greater by too much than the decrease for the KMT. The Central Election Commission was able to stuff more ballots in these districts because there was more room for improvement for the DPP. They were also able to steal more ballots from the KMT since the KMT support in these districts was already higher to begin with. There were 12 districts that were deemed to be totally not reasonable. 11 out of 12 of these districts were won by Hangori by a larger margin on November 24, 2018. Deep blue districts, which the DPP did more poorly on November 24, 2018, have an exaggerated increase in DPP support on January 11th because there was more perceived room to stuff ballots for Tsai. However, this led to an absurd increase in percentage of support for the DPP that was much higher than the decrease in support for the KMT. Some districts with low population have already decreased their turnout rate, which runs contrary to the overall trend, which strongly suggests that ballots were mostly stolen from Han in these areas. The distribution of fraud among the districts on January 11th suggests that it was done by the election staff and not by computer because the amount of ballots stuffed and stolen in each district was based more on human perception of which areas were more blue and green in 2018. Green districts stuffed and stole less. Blue districts with high population stuffed too much but didn't steal enough. Blue districts with low population stuffed less but stole too much. Election fraud done by computer would stuff and steal more uniformly across Kaohsiung without taking into account which areas were more blue or green in 2018. In short, on a statistical level, you can already tell that the ballot stuffing done in Kaohsiung was by human hands and not by computer. The fact that pan-blue districts with high population saw a large increase in Tsai voters on January 11th, but pan-blue districts with low population saw a very small increase in Tsai voters, but both saw a decrease in Han voters, suggests that there are two different trends in districts won by Hangori in 2018. This stark difference in voting behavior can only be attributed to different strategies of election fraud, as one cannot argue that former Han voters switched to Tsai on 1/11, and at the same time, different Han voters in 2018 chose not to vote at all on 1/11. If one is to make either argument, the behavior of former Han voters would be the same in districts with a higher population and a lower population. In short, these two types of districts created different results because the strategy for stuffing and stealing ballots was done differently by the election staff. So to summarize the three elections in 2020, on January 11th in the presidential election in Kaohsiung, 38 out of 38 districts had widespread ballot stuffing for Taiwan and widespread ballot theft against Hangori. For the June 6th Kaohsiung mayor recall, there was widespread ballot stuffing in favor of the recall. 35 out of 38 of the districts had widespread ballot stuffing. For the August 15th Kaohsiung mayor by-election, I will simply say that I don't know because I don't have enough video evidence that proves election fraud, and I don't see any strong statistical evidence suggesting election fraud. I will simply say that it is unknown because there are certain types of election fraud that can be done without being detected through statistical methods. So that's it for Kaohsiung on a district level. In my next video, I will point out how the DPP used a false negative correlation by asking people in Kaohsiung to lie about their voting preferences and how they changed from 2018 to 2020. They basically lied to everyone to create a false negative correlation, when in fact I believe that even more people voted for Hangori on January 11th, 2020.